We are live on YouTube, Mataji. Hello.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Mahabharata character series. Thank you for joining in. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Shatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. We are discussing the wonderful character of Arjuna, and last time we discussed how after all the peace negotiations failed and the war was evident, so all the Kauravas and Pandavas, they started accumulating more and more armies. Kauravas, they could manage to get 11 Akshohini divisions of soldiers, and Pandavas, they got 7. And the entire army was arranged on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which was the place decided. Arjuna, he tells Krishna, who was acting as his chariot driver, please bring my chariot in between the two armies. And we saw that when Arjuna, he saw all his relatives, actually 5 generations were fighting. His great-grandfather, grandfather, his brothers, his sons and grandsons. He was bewildered, he was confused, and he gave so many arguments why he does not want to fight. He started speaking that I don't want to kill all these soldiers, I'm feeling compassion for them. I will become sinful if I kill all these soldiers. How will I enjoy if I kill all these people? Because we cannot enjoy alone. Even to enjoy, you need company. And if I kill all the males, the men, if they are killed, then women will be unprotected and they'll be exploited. The entire society will be destroyed. And after seeing all this, he was completely confused. He says, "Oh Krishna, now I am your disciple. Please accept me." So that is what we discussed so far. That Arjuna is now telling that, okay, I cannot do anything. I cannot decide on my own. Please instruct me. And Krishna says, oh, there are so many big sages assembled on the battlefield also. There is Bhishma, there is Drona, and there are some other sages like Vyasa. You can call them and take guidance from them. Why are you taking shelter of me? Why are you becoming my disciple? So Arjuna, at this point of time, he reconfirms his dependence. He says, I do not see anyone else who can dispel my doubt. You can only do it. So anything material, he says, can't solve my problem. Therefore, I am seeking your shelter because I need spiritual instructions. Many times, emotional pain cannot be solved by physical comfort because Arjuna had no physical problem at this time. He was most skilled, most powerful. He has all the strategies ready, but still, he has an emotional breakdown here. It is like a garland of flowers offered to a person who is starving. most of us, when we fast during Ekadashi, and especially Nirjal Ekadashi, which is coming in few months, the next day on the fast breaking time, if somebody says, "Oh, Prabhuji, you have done such wonderful Nirjal Ekadashi, let me give you some, one garland, and then I'll put chandan on your forehead. It will make you very cool." So we'll say, "No, no, I don't need all this. I need water." So therefore, Arjuna is saying, I am now tormented by emotional pain, and none of my physical skill sets, none of my capabilities are able to support me and help me. So if we have to solve emotional issues, then we can't do that by physical arrangements. In that situation, we need emotional support, guidance from our friends, from some very expert person. So here what we can see is Arjuna, he is going into a loop of thinking process. So many times it is said, don't overthink, because many times we analyze things so much, analysis leads to paralysis. So Arjuna, he wants to come out of this, and he is turning to Krishna. And this is the time now Bhagavad Gita is about to be revealed. By the helpless surrender of Arjuna came the jewel of instructions in the form of Bhagavad Gita. How can we know that we are overthinking? Because thinking generally is important. We have to think intellectually, we have to analyze things. But how to understand that now I am overthinking? When thinking makes things more fuzzier, not clearer, then we should understand we are overthinking. And at that point of time, we need to get guidance from somebody who is more superior and expert in that field, a trustworthy spiritual guide. That is important. Additionally, what we can do when we are so very confused at points, we can write journal, pour all our thoughts in journal, in a diary. That also helps. So therefore, Arjuna, he surrendered to Krishna. And in the second chapter, first, Krishna gave a pep talk to Arjuna. Very interesting. Although he's seeing his friend completely confused and morose, and he has kept his bow down, Krishna didn't speak instructions, although he is the Supreme Lord. He's the most intelligent personality. All the intelligence comes from him. He knows how to solve the situation. He knows how to give the best guidance. But we have to learn what Krishna is doing here. Unless Arjuna surrendered, Krishna didn't speak a word. So many times we want to give instructions freely to anyone and everyone. We want to give advice freely. Of course, when we give some classes, then there is a generic instruction and we can give these instructions freely. That is our responsibility to speak whatever we have read. But when it comes to personal guidance, then it should be done only when we are asked for. Free advice is not so much welcomed. One of the principles Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita is austerity of speech. One of the austerities of speech is to speak only when it is required. Unwanted help, it may be seen as disturbance rather than assistance. So we should be careful that we should not give guidance and advice and instructions unless asked for personally, personal speaking, personal level. So Krishna, when he sees that, okay, now Arjuna has surrendered, so he starts dismantling all his doubts. And he begins with heavy chastisement. He says, Arjuna, you're behaving like you're speaking like a very, very intelligent person, but actually you are a fool. Shochananva shochastam pragyamadamsha bhashase gatasu na gatasumscha nanu shochanti pandita. You are behaving like a unintelligent person. So when you have to give guidance to a person who is confused, first step is dismantle the misconceptions of the student. That is what Krishna is doing here. And it may require strong words. Dismantling the misconceptions is very, very important. One time a person went to a music teacher to learn harmonium. And he asked, can I learn harmonium? I have heard that you are a very good teacher. So he said, okay. The teacher said, okay, I'll teach you. And he said, oh, do you know something about harmonium? You have some training? He said, I have learned on my own some things. So he said, the teacher said, okay. Then the student asked, okay, how much will you charge? The teacher said, I'll charge you 5,000 a month. Then another person came and he said the same thing. I want to learn. So the teacher, he asked the same question. Do you know something about harmonium? He said, no, I'm completely a blank slate. So he said, okay. The student asked, how much will you charge for teaching me? He said, 2,000 a month. So the other person, he was confused and shocked. You told me 5,000 and you're telling him 2,000. Why? What is the reason of this difference? The teacher said, because you know something, you have learned something according to your intelligence. So first I have to put energy in dismantling your misconceptions. That will take more of my time and energy. That's why I'll charge you more money. So the first step is dismantling the misconceptions of the student. And that is what Krishna did in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 11th verse. Very strong words. You are behaving like a fool. So the education which Krishna is going to give to Arjuna is for transformation. Education is meant for transforming our thoughts, transforming our emotions. That is what Bhagavad Gita is all about. It is not about developing some skill sets. Bhagavad Gita is a manual for managing our thoughts, managing our desires. And that's what Krishna is trying to do here. So the first argument of Arjuna was, he said, I am feeling compassionate. How can I kill all these people? So in response to that, Krishna says, oh, why are you showing compassion for the dead body? Body is already dead and soul is immortal. You cannot kill the soul. Don't think that if you don't kill the relatives, all these soldiers, they will not die. They will die for sure. Arjuna says, okay, but I am attached to this body of Bhishma, this body of Drona, this body of my respected elders. What should I do? I cannot kill them. Now Krishna speaks very, very important instruction. The first instruction which Krishna gave to Arjuna. That is the principal instruction in spiritual life. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha agama apaino nitya tam titikshasva bharata. He says, O Arjuna, heat, cold, happiness, distress, they will come. You cannot avoid. You have to just learn to tolerate. Tolerance is the basic principle in spiritual life. Problems, everybody has to go through problems. There is nobody who is free from problems. Problems, they are like leeches. If any of you have undergone some Ayurvedic treatment where they apply leech and the leech sucks out the blood, impure blood. If you try to pull that leech out when it is sucking the blood, it is very difficult. What we have to do, just leave it. Don't overreact. Just be patient, and in due course of time, leech will automatically give you up. So when problem comes, that is what we have to do. Don't overreact. Just be patient. Of course, we have to take some practical steps to handle those problems. But regarding the pain we are going through, just tolerate and it will leave you automatically. Nowadays, tolerance is seen as weakness, but it is not the case. Tolerance is required in every field of life. Because if you keep reacting to small problems, you will not be able to focus on the big battles of life. So keep your biggest battle the biggest battle. Just like it is a common scenario in the local trains in the Mumbai. People, they start fighting over small things for the seat, and then they forget that they have to go and reach their office, and they get down on the station and keep fighting. So for small problems, they are missing the whole point. They have to go to their destination. So tolerance means to keep first things first. That is what Krishna is telling to Arjuna. Stay focused. Learn to tolerate. What is tolerance? Tolerance means ability to insulate ourselves from the surrounding situations and remain focused. The surroundings may be very disturbing, but if we can insulate and be focused, then we can really get best out of life. That is the first instruction which Krishna is giving to Arjuna. Okay, what will I get if I tolerate? Because people ask, okay, do I have to go on tolerating? What will I get in return? Krishna says, just don't, decide. Just don't decide priorities based on the external appearances. Don't think that if you tolerate, you are a loser. You will get something very, very higher. By being tolerant and focusing on spiritual life, one can attain peace and happiness. That's what everybody is aspiring for. That is the ultimate goal of spiritual practices. To be peaceful and to be happy. Sukham kartum avyayam. Spiritual life is all about being happy. Because nobody wants to be distressed. And then Krishna goes on to explain how soul can never be killed. Soul is immortal. It cannot be cut by weapons. It is inexhaustible. It cannot be wet. Cannot be dried by air. Cannot be burnt by fire. And so on and so forth. Keeps on explaining in detail. So therefore Krishna says, why are you giving up your duty out of ignorance? Arjuna, continue doing your duty. Fight. And then he says, oh, you are telling about enjoyment. You are thinking if you kill all these, you will not be able to enjoy. Krishna says, if you don't kill, then you will not be able to enjoy. He says, you know what will happen if you run away from the battlefield? Don't think people will tell, oh, Arjuna was such a saintly person. He didn't kill his enemies. They will insult you. They will tell, oh, he ran away from the battlefield. And for person who is very famous, person who is honored, dishonor is worse than death. Akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti tevyayam sambhavitasya chakirtir maranadatirichyate. People, they like to gossip. That is a general tendency of everyone. People like to gossip. Gossip means no good things. Nobody likes to talk about the good things of others. People like to talk about the wrong things which others have done, about their faults. It is a general pattern of behavior. So, therefore, Krishna is saying people will gossip. And in today's world, all the media and advertising industry is focusing on that. Most of it is discussing the faults and the mistakes which others have performed. So Arjuna, Krishna is saying, people will not judge you by your intentions, they will judge you by your actions. That is what is generally happening. People, they judge others by their actions and they judge themselves by their intentions. But it is very, very important to understand, when we see people behaving in certain ways, we should try to find out their background story. Don't try to judge others because you don't know their story. Anybody behaving in a certain way has a certain story behind his behavior. One time, a father and the son, they were traveling in a train, and a young child, 5 6 years old child, and he was looking outside and he was pointing, "Oh father, what is that?" Father said, "Beta, this is tree." "Oh acha." "And what is that?" "Oh beta, this is a dog or a cow." And other people, they were really getting annoyed and irritated because you don't expect 6 5 6 years old child to ask all these silly questions. So the father could notice this and he told the other people, he said, "My child, from birth he was blind. He had some uh, disease in the eye, and I was trying to get some money to get it treated. Somehow, after many years, now I could gather some money, and just now we are coming back from hospital, and he is seeing things for the first time. That's why he's asking." Everybody's perception changed. So, therefore, we should not judge people based on their actions. So Krishna is saying people will not judge you by your intentions, they will judge you by your actions. And you're talking about enjoyment. If you win, you will enjoy this kingdom. If you die, you will go to heaven and you will enjoy there. Both ways you will enjoy. Hato va prapsasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya. Therefore, O Arjuna, get up and fight. Yuddhaya krita nishchayaha. If you are killed, you will enjoy, you will go to heaven. Hata means you are killed. Swarga, you will attain swarga. Jitwa, जीतेंगे तो आपको ये साम्राज्य प्राप्त होगा. You will attain this kingdom. So Arjuna was seeing a lose-lose situation. He was thinking, if I win, I will not be able to enjoy because my relatives, they will all die. And if I lose, how will I enjoy? So this is how Krishna is changing the whole perception. Krishna is saying this is not a lose-lose situation, this is a win-win situation. That is how we have to shift our paradigms. That is spiritual life all about. The circumstances will remain the same. Just changing our paradigms makes one peaceful, gives one such a wonderful clarity of thoughts that they can function properly. They can achieve much more than what they have expected. Because everybody has innate capacity and innate skills given by Krishna. But because of confusions and because of, perceptions in life, we cannot make best use of it. Therefore, Krishna is saying, just change your perception. Change your paradigm. It is not a lose-lose situation, it is a win-win situation. And then Krishna says, "Oh Arjuna, you are thinking about sinful reaction. You are telling, oh, how will I If I kill all these people, I'll get sinful reaction. Now, Krishna takes Arjuna to a next level of understanding. Earlier, he was telling Arjuna, you fight for the sake of enjoyment. Now, Krishna takes Arjuna to a next level of understanding. That's how a person grows from enjoyment. Now, Krishna is telling, fight for the sake of duty. And if you fight for purification and illumination, then you will not be bound by sinful reactions. And that is what Krishna calls as Buddhi Yoga. This is a very important term in Bhagavad Gita, Buddhi Yoga. Use your intelligence to connect to God. Understand what Krishna wants me to do in this situation and work according to his desire. Then you will not be bound by sinful reaction. And then Krishna starts explaining the power and the expanse of this Buddhi Yoga. He says, anything done in spiritual life. So Buddhi Yoga means it is spiritual life. It is Krishna consciousness. If we are working in spiritual life, if you are trying to go ahead, whatever little advancement we do, it is a permanent gain. It is never lost. Krishna consciousness is eternal and its gains are eternal. Neha bhikrama nasho asti. There is no restriction. There is no diminution in this path. So therefore, Krishna says, don't get confused, O Arjuna. If you work for pleasing God, if you work for absolute principles, you will not be bound by sinful reaction. Krishna warns Arjuna. O Arjuna, in the spiritual life, there is an obstacle. What is that? The desire. Desire to enjoy separately from God. Everybody wants to enjoy, and there is no problem in enjoyment because that is our innate nature. Anandamayo abhyasat. We are made of happiness. We are made to enjoy. But we should learn how to enjoy. What type of desires we should cultivate and what type of desires we should not cultivate. So many desires that we cannot function properly. It is just like if you are traveling and you have to carry one suitcase. If you don't put things properly in the suitcase, you cannot put everything. Similarly, people say, oh, we have so many things to do. How can I put so many things in my 24 hours? Because we are not managing our life. We are not managing our desires. Managing life means managing our desires. Desire management leads to time management. Because we work according to our desires, right? Our mind tells something and then we go on doing that and the time is gone. So first we have to manage our desires. Therefore Krishna says, please manage your desires first. Streamline things. Make proper priority in spiritual life so that you can take care of your material things also and spiritual life also. And for that, what is very, very important thing? You have to be focused. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana. Be focused, just like a businessman, focused. Vyavasaya means business. So Krishna says you have to become like a businessman, be focused. Businessman doesn't think anything else apart from money. How can I increase my business? How can I make more money? We have to be focused. We should not be fanatical, but we have to be fanatically focused in Krishna, in spiritual life. It is just like if someone tells, okay, if you dig 3,000 feet deep, you'll get oil. And if somebody digs 400 feet here and 200 feet there and 500 feet somewhere else, he will not get oil. But if he is focused, digging at the same place, then he'll get the oil. If you want to advance in spiritual life, Krishna says, be focused. A serious spiritual practitioner is defined by a sense of purpose and a sense of urgency. Purpose is very important. Why? Why I'm doing it? And urgent. I have to do it now. So therefore, Krishna says, if you have a material motive, you will get reactions. If you have spiritual motive, then you will not get reaction. That's what Krishna says. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Very famous verse. Almost everyone in India knows this. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Work without attachment for success or failure. Then the natural question comes, if we don't have to work for success and failure, then why we should work, right? Why we should work? Gita answers, Bhagavad Gita says, Krishna says, you work to get love. Because when we want to be successful, actually we want success because we want to be loved. And people think, if I'll become successful, people will love me. They love us more if I'm more successful. But the sad reality of life is many times we don't succeed. Even if we succeed, we don't attract the love of people. Even if we attract people's attention, they love us because of our success. People they don't love for who we are. People they love because we are successful. That is common scenario. Many times it happens. And even if we experience authentic love, it ends with death. Either the person dies or we die. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita says, don't try to work to get results, success, because ultimately it will lead to frustration. So therefore, seek a love beyond this world, that is loving God, pleasing Krishna. And that will satisfy you and that will satisfy everyone else also. You will get peace and you will get liberated. So Arjuna gets a question. How does a person who is liberated look like? Because generally we have seen in the movies and films that a sage in the forest who is a very great sadhu, he has a big beard and a serene look on his face. So Arjuna wants to clarify, what type of action should I do so that I can become liberated? And he asks, how does this person speak? How does this person sit? How does he talk? How does he respond to the temptations of the world? So this section of Bhagavad Gita from 2.2 chapter 54th verse 272. This is a very, very important and relevant section for a spiritual practitioner. Krishna gives so many wonderful instructions how to live in this world. Because we cannot just roam around with our eyes closed. We hear that we should not have desires, but desires are natural because, and the modern industry and the social media keeps on bombarding more and more desires. What should we do? We cannot just roam around with our eyes closed. We have to see things, we have to hear things. Krishna answers, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parth manogatan Atmanyevatmana tushta sthita pragyastadochyate. What is the secret of steady intelligence? He says, this person, he gives up all the desires which are given by the mind. Our mind keeps on giving so many inputs. Oh, you can enjoy this, see this, taste this, go there. We should have our plan ready for our life. We should not allow our mind to plan for us. When you are getting up in the morning, don't allow your mind to plan for you. Last night we should plan. Next day morning, next day, what I am supposed to do. Don't allow your mind to plan for you. That is what we should do. Because mind will keep on planning so many things. Therefore, Krishna says, this person, he is not captivated by the plans of the mind. He gives a very wonderful example. He says, a devotee, a spiritualist is like a tortoise. The specific characteristic of a tortoise is when the tortoise sees some danger coming, it withdraws all the limbs and the head inside its shell. A spiritual practitioner, he should be like a tortoise. When he sees some things which are not favorable for his spiritual practice or her spiritual practice, that person withdraws his attention, doesn't allow the mind to go towards those things. And for that matter, this is applicable in any field of life. If we want to be successful in any field, we have to stay away from the temptations. Our senses, they are like our weaknesses, and we have to guard those weaknesses, because when we are roaming in the world, it is but natural that we will get distracted. So many billboards, the whole advertising industry, what it is doing, fueling desires. More and more desires are put in our mind. And the result is we are distracted from our goal. So therefore it is said, if we want to be focused and controlled, we have to avoid places which require self-control. Self-control is achieved best by avoiding places which require self-control. If we know that, I like this food, if I'll go by this lane, the fragrance will enter the nose and I will be attracted. But I know that this person doesn't make it so good. Last time I had eaten there and I had a bad stomach. But if I enter this lane, I'll not be able to resist the temptations. So take another lane. That is just one example. And that is for everything. If we know that, if I'll do this, I'll get distracted, better don't go by that path. So somebody may say, okay, saying no, 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 it will not solve the problem, right? We have to say yes to something. We have to eat something. We cannot say, okay, I'll just fast whole day. We cannot do that. So therefore Krishna says, yes, you have to say yes to spiritual reality. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Say yes to spiritual reality, then it will be very easy for you to say no to the material temptations. That is the difference between tapasya, austerity, and a higher taste. Austerity means when you say no to sense gratification grudgingly. And higher taste means when you say no to sense gratification happily. So the more we practice spiritual life by hearing, by chanting holy names of the Lord, by reading Bhagavad Gita, by associating with spiritual people, the more our desire for material things will go down. So we have to develop a higher taste. And then Krishna, in this second chapter, in the 61st verse, first time reveals that he is not just the teacher who is teaching mind control, he is the object of self control. We have to meditate on Krishna. He says, Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asit mat paraha. Mat para. This is a glimpse of devotion in this chapter. He says, surrender to me. Focus your mind on me. Then you will become peaceful. And then Krishna ends this chapter by giving another example. He says, just like so many rivers, they enter ocean, but ocean never overflows. The ocean doesn't cross its boundary. Why? Because it is so vast. It is such deep and so vast. That's why even though tons and tons of water are entering, liters and liters of water are entering, but still nothing is happening to the ocean. So a spiritual practitioner, his heart should be so full of happiness, so satisfied with spiritual practice that it should be like an ocean. And when the heart is like full of ocean of happiness, then the material desires and the temptations of the mind and the senses, they don't disturb a devotee. Ocean is always peaceful. Ocean is an example of, a very steady person or an object, entity. So therefore he says a spiritual practitioner, his heart should be like an ocean. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudramapa pravishanti yadvat tadvad kamayam pravishanti sarve sa shantimapnoti na kama kami. He says, this person whose heart is full of ocean of happiness, sa shantim apnoti, he will attain peace. He'll be peaceful in life. And that is what we are aspiring for, to be peaceful in all the circumstances. So after hearing all this, Arjuna gets a question. He says, okay, if peace and enlightenment is the goal of life, then why are you telling me to engage in fight? This looks contradictory, right? So please tell me one thing. Should I fight or should I, leave everything and remain peaceful? Krishna says, don't get confused. There are different levels of people and they have to be given different instructions. For some people, renouncing the world is good. But again, one should not forget the purpose. Purpose is purification. For you, O Arjuna, the way to purify is to fight. Again, Krishna says, anything you do, ask question why. Why is very important. Find out why I am doing something. This why is very, very important, and ask why. And that's what spiritual life begins with. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Why I am suffering in this world. Keami Kene Amar Jare Tapatroy. Who am I? Why I am suffering in this world? So why is the very important question. So Krishna is asking, ask why. Do your prescribed duty to purify yourself. Don't just run away from your prescribed duty. This will maintain the social order, So now Krishna is about to answer the fourth argument of Arjuna. So fourth argument was Arjuna said, oh, this family tradition will be destroyed because the men will be killed and women will be unprotected. Unscrupulous men, they will exploit women, and unwanted progeny will be born, who will offer oblations to the forefathers, and the entire dynasty will be destroyed. The entire society will be destroyed. So Krishna says, you are thinking about destruction of family tradition. But let me clarify. If you don't fight, then the family tradition will be destroyed. You know how? He says, whatever great people do, common people follow. यदि यद आचरति श्रेष्ठा तत्तद एवेतरो जना सयत प्रमाणम कुरुते लोकस्तद अनुवर्तते. People will follow you. They will tell, oh, Arjuna didn't do his duty, we will also not do our duty. We will also not do offer oblations to our forefathers. And then entire family tradition will be destroyed. What to speak of you, Arjuna? Even I am doing my duty, because if I will not do my duties, although I don't have any duties to perform, still I am doing my duty, because people will follow me and they will be ruined. Entire society will be ruined. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanavaptam avaptavyam varta eva cha karmani. There is no work for me in this world, O Arjuna. Still I am doing, because if I will not do my duty, everybody will follow my path and they'll be ruined. So therefore, if you ran away from the battlefield, if you run away from your battlefield, people will follow you. They will give up their duties and family tradition will be lost and society will be destroyed. So therefore, Krishna is telling, protection is not just in terms of physical sense. Protection is in terms of setting right example. So all the elders in the society, actually everyone in the society, they have the responsibility to set right example, because everyone has someone who is following them. A father, family is following the father. Mother is a teacher. Father is a teacher. A person who is teaching in the school is also teacher. Somebody is following him. Everyone is a teacher. A husband is a teacher. A wife is a teacher. They have somebody who is following them. So everybody has a responsibility to set right example. Because our enemy is not just outside, enemy is within us also. Our lower nature. So if a leader sets a bad example, then the enemy gets strength. If we follow wrong people, if we don't set right standards, then our lower nature will become more powerful. We will be ruined, and the society, people who are following us, they will be ruined. So therefore, Krishna is telling, oh Arjuna, if you act in wrong ways, then you will give in to your lower nature, and it will cause big disruption in the society. It will create Varna Sankara. So therefore, please stick to your duty and have faith in my words and continue fighting. Please don't think that it is so very nice, if I just do the duty of a Brahmana. Actually, in this world, grass is always green on the other side. Everybody thinks, if I can get this, I'll be happy. Oh, this person is so very happy. I am so very miserable. Arjuna is thinking, these Brahmanas, their service is so nice. They don't have to do any violence. And my job is full of violence. What Brahmanas have to do? Just sit at one place, read, do yajna, and teach people. Krishna says, every duty in this world has some fault in it. There is no duty in this world which has no fault. So better perform your duty. That is better than imitating others' duties. Shreyan swadharmo viguna paradharmat swanushchitat swadharme nidhanam shreya paradharmo bhayavaha. It is very, very dangerous to follow someone else's path. Because you know what will happen in due course of time, you will not be able to do that also, because it was not your nature. We have to understand what is our nature and work accordingly. Understand our psychophysical nature. Who am I? What I am good at? What I am comfortable at? And work accordingly. People, they don't get job satisfaction many times because they do things which they are not good at and they are not comfortable doing that. And that is actually varnashram system, to give a stable mindset, because when people they act according to their inclinations, they are happy. They like to struggle in things which they are good at. But if people they do things and struggle in those things which they are not good at, it gives more frustration. So therefore, Krishna says, please stick to your duty. Now Arjuna asks a very important question. He says, Krishna, I have seen that people, many times they don't want to do wrong things, but there is something inside them which drags them to do wrong things. Why a person does sinful activity, even though he doesn't want to do it? Athakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushah anichhannapi varshneya balad iva niyojitah. As if he's forcibly dragged to do a wrong thing. Can you tell me, Krishna, what is the reason for this? Krishna says, yes. It is a desire to enjoy in sinful way which drags a person away from his power of discrimination. And this is born of anger. काम एष क्रोध एष रजोगुण समुद्भवः महाशनो महापापा विद्येनमिह वैरिणम्. This tendency to enjoy in wrong way, it is the biggest enemy of a person. It is like a fire which keeps burning the person. It's the most voracious, very, very powerful. Maha Ashana, voracious and sinful enemy of the living entity. So therefore, Arjuna, please be very careful. So in the second chapter, 2.54 to 72 talked about how to master ourselves. And then in the third chapter, again from 37th verse to 43rd verses, it talk about how we can conquer our lower self. So these two sections are very, very important for anyone actually. So Krishna tells Arjuna, if you want to control this lower self, if you want to control this lust, first identify where the enemy is seated. If you want to destroy the enemy, first you have to find where he is, or that person is, the army is. Where is this lust? Three places. Indriyani mano buddhir asya adhishthanam uchyate. Lust resides in senses, mind, and intelligence. So it is not that some people or things provoke lust. It is the tendency inside us that is responsible for our wrong decisions. So we have to take responsibility to curb our lust. Nobody is going to do it for us. So it is our responsibility to control our mind. It is our responsibility to control our senses and intelligence. So we have to purify our senses by connecting to Krishna, to God, by seeing things which are spiritual, by hearing things which are spiritual, which are connected to Krishna. We have to purify our mind by chanting the names of Krishna. This Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And we have to purify our intelligence by reading scriptures like Bhagavad Gita. That is the way to purify our lower self. And that's what Krishna says. And if you work in this way, then you will be situated in transcendental platform. So we have to purify our lust by inner regulation and outer devotion. So that is what Krishna tells, and he ends the 3rd chapter. So we'll stop here. We'll continue further instructions of Bhagavad Gita in the next class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Prabhuji, you have been mentioning about, managing desires and where the lust stays and, so many of these things. So, and, choosing the right over the wrong, not going in contact with those things which, increase those desires. But like Arjun also said, that automatically knowing everything, we turn towards the certain activities which we are not supposed to do.
Yeah.
But there is a process to it. It takes time, and in that time period we continue to make a lot of mistakes, and although not to choose, like Arjun was also saying, but we still continue to, make those mistakes. So how can we reduce making those mistakes? Maybe whatever the process is, it is going to take time.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm not supposed to get angry, but at that time I get angry, even though doing.
Yeah, hearing all the anger management seminars doesn't help when we are in the midst of that situation. Yeah, it's true. So that's why Krishna, Arjuna, he speaks the same, actually the same thoughts in the 6th chapter also, where Krishna is telling Arjuna that, you have to control your mind, you have to focus. And then Arjuna says, this is very difficult. I can control wind, but I cannot control my mind. So Krishna, he agrees. Yes, so Arjuna, I accept that mind is very difficult to be controlled, but there are 2 things we have to perform, we have to do. Abhyas and Vairagya. Asanshayam mahabaho manodurnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihiyate. So on the path of spiritual life, it is natural that we will not come up to our ideal standards quickly, because there are lots of things to be done, lots of work is to be done. So one thing we have to do is keep on practicing abhyas. And second, vairagya, means detachment from those things which are not conducive for spiritual practice. So these 2 things are very important. And you may say, oh, but still, we fall down many times. We are not able to practice. As you mentioned that, we become angry, we become greedy, we become envious. What to do then? So therefore, Krishna, he began these instructions by telling, just tolerate those contaminations of the heart. It will not go so easily. As it is said, utsaha, nishchay and dhairya. So this patience is very, very important. And many times when people, they have utopian expectations from this practice of spiritual life, they get so very disturbed and they think, oh, nothing is working. I think this is not for me. This process doesn't work for me because I am practicing since so many years, but still same things are coming, same thoughts, same anarthas, same temptations, because we don't understand that we have started this process of cleaning our heart after, God knows how many lifetimes, and lots of work is to be done. So we have to be patient with ourselves. We have to just accept who we are and wherever we are, and then work from that level. If we put ourselves on a very high pedestal, then we will have unnecessary frustrations in life. When we think, oh, how are these desires coming even after practicing so many years, we don't understand that we are, we have embarked on a journey which is a long journey. Just that we don't know how long distance we have to cover. That's why we think, अरे इतने साल हो गए अभी तक आया नहीं. I have not reached yet. No, there's such a long way remaining. So therefore, we have to have that enthusiasm, determination, and patience. It is said that a young person in Krishna consciousness, he needs patience, he needs enthusiasm. So he has enthusiasm. He needs patience. He has enthusiasm. Young people, when they come to spiritual life, they have lots of enthusiasm. They tell Prabhuji, आप जो सेवा बोलो मैं करूंगा. आप you tell me and I'll do it, and they do it. But they have to be taught patience, because in the initial years of Krishna consciousness, you have lots of patience. Then after practicing for some years, you think that still nothing is happening. Then you have to tell them that, oh, please be patient. Journey is long. So a young person, when he associates with a elder person in Krishna consciousness and spiritual life, he learns patience from him. And the old person, when he associates with a young person, he gets enthusiasm. So both are important, enthusiasm and patience. So young should associate with new devotees also. Seeing their enthusiasm, they also feel wow. And the young people, when they see elderly people practicing, such senior devotees practicing, they get some hope. They tend to become patient. Okay. So seeing our faults, seeing our contaminations, one should not get disturbed, because it is a long journey and we should not have unrealistic expectations in our path of spiritual life. Purification is happening, but we can't measure it. There is no thermometer by which we can measure our abhi anartha kitna kam ho gaya. Okay. It is just like traveling in a flight. We don't even know many times that the flight is moving or not, but it is moving at a very fast pace. So spiritual life, it is like a very fast way to get purified, but just that we have to be patient. And for sure, we are moving ahead. And we can see for sure the day we started practicing and now, is there some difference? If yes, then the process is working. It cannot happen that there is no difference at all. Jahan shuru kiya tha, abhi bhi waisa hi hai. No, it is not possible. Some difference will be there for sure. So utsaha, nishcha, and dhairya, we have to remind ourselves of these things. We have to accept ourselves as we are and work accordingly. That will make the mind peaceful. And we can happily practice Krishna consciousness. Be happy and keep struggling happily. That is what we can tell. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. So basically, one of the things you mentioned is that we should understand where we are standing. And accordingly, along with enthusiasm, we should have patience. Because if we think that we are somewhere, just a step away from prema, then we'll become a little, okay. Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.